Hey, y'all, I'm Shane Sams, the host of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. Thank you so much for listening today. I always get excited on days I get to record the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast because I get to hang out with a real member from the Flipped Lifestyle community. I get to coach them up and help them take their online dream to the next level so they can change their family's future. And we've got a really awesome, deep conversation today with Flipped Lifestyle community member David Marquardt. David is struggling finding his idea. He's struggling settling on a niche. But he really, really wants to start an online business because even though he's running a successful wedding business with dozens of employees, this was a business he inherited from somebody else. It's not his passion. It's not his mission. And even though it makes a good living, even though him and his wife run this business very successfully, even though they survived and thrived during the global pandemic in a world where weddings were literally shut down, he's just not happy. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever felt like grateful that you had a good life, thankful that you had a good living, but you just couldn't put your finger on it? You're just not happy with what you're doing. It doesn't light you up. It isn't filled with passion and purpose, or maybe it's taking you away from other things in your life you love. Well, that's where David finds himself today. He discovered us a couple years ago in an interview we did in Forbes, and he's been listening to the podcast since, just stirring on what else is there? What could I do? Could I do something online? Heck, if these kids from Kentucky did it, I can do it. And he's finally ready to take action. But he's struggling with things like imposter syndrome. He's afraid to put a lot of time into something in case it doesn't work. But he knows he's looking for purpose and joy and that the struggle will be worth it in the end. So today, I'm going to help him get closer to his niche, get closer to that mission that's going to light him on fire. Help him figure out those passions that he can use to fulfill his mission and find purpose, joy, and happiness in his life. Now, look, I know a lot of you are struggling with these same things. It can be very, very hard to take your next idea, commit to it, and go out and put it out into the world. But I know this conversation with David today is going to be a blessing for you. I know it's going to help you work through some of these mindset struggles, and you're going to realize you're not alone. So wherever you are listening today, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back with you after I talk to David. So wherever you are listening to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope it helps you on your journey, and I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast, where life always comes before work. We're your hosts, Shane and Jocelyn Sams. We're a real family that figured out how to make our entire living online. And now, we help other families do the same. Are you ready to flip your life? All right, let's get started. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you again today. I'm super excited to help another member of the Flipped Lifestyle community figure out their idea, find and use their God-given talents to create something amazing that can change their family's future. And my guest today is Flipped Lifestyle member David Marquardt. What's up, David?
Hey, not much. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I am pumped. You've got some really good. I always get to prep a little bit. My team makes me this amazing sheet that has all the questions in it. You fill out this form, and you've got some awesome questions, man, that I think a lot of people are going to be getting tons of value out of today. But before we get started, tell me a little bit about you, about what you do in the real world, and like what you're trying to do online. What's your background?
Well, it's for me. It's actually kind of a hard one to always answer. But I'm kind of a jack of all trades. My wife and I, we have two kids, two beautiful kids. They're 6 and 8. They are the reason we do everything from day one that they were born.
Amen, brother. I like to hear that, man.
You know, my wife and I own a business. It's a retail shop. It's a wedding business, and it's successful. You know, this last year was actually extremely difficult, obviously.
Sure.
You know,
when they couldn't have weddings, that's hard in a wedding shop. Right?
That is exactly it. But they were still happening. People were still finding ways to do it in their backyards and everything. But, you know, we survived. We made it through, and man, did it teach us a lot of lessons, a lot of really hard lessons. And one of the things that it taught us is that we are not on the right path. We are, while the business is successful, we live a fairly comfortable life. We're very blessed that way. We're not happy, and we're not spending enough time with our kids. We're not in our calling. I think that's kind of what my wife and I first have really gotten to really understand over the last I'd say really the last 12 months. I also do a little bit of consulting on the side as well for a software company. I enjoy it. You know, I'm a tech geek as well. I'm a process guy. Not quite my jam though, you know?
Yeah. Just kind of like, it's like when you're throwing darts and you're hitting like all around the dartboard and it feels you feel good. You're like, I'm in the circle. It's just that big circle on the outside. I'm nowhere near the bullseye kind of deal.
Nope,
right.
Not yet. And, and I think, I absolutely love the way that you guys work from 10 to 2. You spend a lot of family time. And I think that is, and quite honestly, I think everybody should work 4 hours a day, but I suppose I probably shouldn't say that. Maybe I should say that, but I think it's good. I mean, I think most people end up being productive only 4 hours out of the day anyway. I think that's, sure. At least that's what I found with myself. And, we need more freedom. And we need to flip our life.
That's good, man. Tell me about the wedding business real quick, just for a little bit more context before we jump into fears and ideas and stuff. Yeah. So do you guys sell like what retail for wedding? Is it like supplies? Is it chairs? Is it like, what do you do?
Wedding gowns, bridesmaid gowns, wedding attire. And then also suits, tuxedos, dresses for the moms.
How'd you guys get into that?
Girls, proms. What's that?
How'd you guys get into that?
Well, my wife's mom started it about 25 years ago. My wife and I took it over.
It's a legacy thing.
A little while,
gotcha.
A few years back, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a continuation of someone else's business.
Someone else's dream.
Kind of someone else's dream, and you guys had a chance to kind of pick up and run with it.
That's correct, yep.
Do that.
Yep, and it's been successful.
Yeah. Does your wife want to continue the wedding thing, or does she also feel like she's kind of being pulled in different directions?
She's being pulled in a different direction as well.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've got this new concept I've been working on lately. Like one thing that we do is like we really try to we understand there's 168 hours a week, and we understand that non-negotiables have to go on there first. And that's what's so hard when you're running especially a real world physical retail business. Like you got to be there, Mm-hmm. So sometimes that non-negotiable goes on the calendar before the true priorities,
Yes.
And what I've learned over the last few years, especially since we've been building a team around us more, which is something that you eventually you get to do when you're online business. So like I've noticed that like my work hours, as long as I've got, breakfast with my kids and we go take them to school, then me and Jocelyn come home, spend a little time together in the morning. At that point, as long as I'm doing what's in flow, what I'm loving to do, like I love to talk to my members. I love hanging out with you. Like I got a couple calls with a couple different members today. Looking forward to that. It's no big deal. I love emails. Everybody that's on my email list knows they're getting one every day. It's from me, right? But I love storytelling. And as you start to rebuild a new life, like seeking your calling, seeking your purpose and everything, like, it's important to say like, well, what is really important? What do I want to do? What do I want on the calendar first? Then the hours don't really matter. Like that 4-hour work week dream. I've done that. We did that back in like 2016 and 17 when our first business was just passive as it could get out. Right.
And
it got boring, dude. It got so boring. Like, cause you're just like 4 hours, fine. We get to work 4 hours. What are we going to do the rest of the time? Right.
I believe it.
Man. So that's why we've kind of come up with this concept of 10 to 2 is the core. You can expand out to 9 to 3. Like, and if there's things you love, you can put those on the calendar anytime you want, as long as it doesn't, knock you off the track of getting Anna Jo to cheer practice or taking eyes at the MMA or whatever.
The important stuff.
Yeah, man. So what hours are you working now?
Well, it's so we
9 to 9.
No, it depends. It depends. It was So it was, really right up until about 2017, that's really what it was. It was a 9 to 9 thing, and it was just struggle. And then we started really turning a corner right in about 2018 where we started really learning how to hire and learning how to scale. Awesome. And we right before the pandemic hit, we were at our peak at about 35 employees. And it was, we were humming along, it was, we were starting to deal with like the really nitty gritty, the crusties of the business at that point, which, the stuff that kind of got stale after what you kind of shove off in a corner and deal with. Yeah. But it was really humming along. But now the hours that we work now are it's pretty flexible. We do come in at about 10, but we're leaving like 5 and 6. But the crises, the fires, they pop up at all times of the day, and it's just
especially a wedding
stressful.
business. Good Lord, have mercy. You got brides involved. And
well, that
love all your brides out there, but some of you guys,
right. That part we've actually gotten really good at, believe it or not. It's the staffing. It's difficult, especially in this right before the pandemic. The unemployment rate was at a historic low, and now it's a very different story actually coming out of the pandemic.
So so that's what feels like it sucks the life and energy out of you, is just all these people, all these things, all this stuff. Like there's constantly new people involved because a new wedding, new person every time. And and again, like there's this concept that we work on. I don't even know what I call it yet, but like, there's 3 major categories in your life. There's you, there's your relationship with others, and then there's your work. That's what you do. And when you overlay those on top of each other, because all areas of our life blend together. People think they can compartmentalize and have perfect boundaries, but it's not true, right? You just can't do it. I don't care if you're a 9-to-5er or you're doing your own thing. It's just not possible.
Right.
But where work and you overlap, there should be passion. Like you have to be passionate for what you're doing. Like I think you use the word calling, but I think that's calling, passion, like you feel drawn to it. Yep. So even though the business is successful, even though you're doing things, you took the baton from somebody else. There's no passion, right? And like as you're leading this team that is necessary and you built correctly, which will serve you really well when you go online, it's still not your mission. That's not your mission in life that you have chosen. Like our mission is to help people, like families, right, do this. So like that, you're missing that out. So even though you've got some of the pieces in place, it just doesn't. It's a square peg. It's a round hole, and you just can't do it. I hear that so much, man, with self-employed people who are not pursuing the online business. They just pursued a business that can make money, like a restaurant or something,
Right.
And you just hear that misalignment a little bit and get you out of whack. So you've got this online dream. We were talking off air a little bit, like you heard our story in Forbes and you were like, these 2 people did what? They're from Kentucky. God, if they're from Kentucky, I can do this. Anybody can do it, right? Like, so like when was that? When did you discover Flipped Lifestyle, or when you were kind of researching online business?
I think it might have been about 2 years ago. Yeah.
No kidding. 2 years? You just had this percolating up in your head for about 2 years.
That's how it worked. Yep.
Yeah, man. That's amazing, dude. I love that. Like sometimes it just, you got to process, right? So like now that you want to go online, what's holding you back? Like what's the mindset issue? What's the fear? What's the external obstacle? Like what are these things that are keeping you from taking that leap? I mean, you clearly know how to build a business, dude.
I think this has taken a lot for me to admit. I have to say, I think it's imposter syndrome a little bit. And I don't know why. The weird thing is that I get, when I'm at different trade shows, I'll have different, some of my business friends come up and just start talking about employees, and they've got like 1 or 2 or none, or they're about ready to hire them. And they're like, oh, payroll. Oh, they get all nervous about it. And, it's that's just part of my life. And I don't particularly enjoy it, but, bringing people on board is like, it's retail. I mean, it's just what you do. I mean, it's just, you're doing that every other month. And so, but I think it's that's one of the bigger ones. I think, and 2 is it being worth the time too. I think it's, you're going to laugh at this, Shane. I'm coming up on my 40th birthday. And I'm kind of starting to realize, especially with the kids, and I think maybe I should blame my kids for this one, but I've noticed that the time, it's like somebody, after I had my first child, it's like somebody took a cinder block and dropped it on the gas pedal, and it didn't.
Oh yeah, man. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable. And it's unbelievable. It's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Like when you're a new parent, and I'm just talking about the stages I've been through for everybody that's a new parent out there. I'm not knocking anybody. But it is new, and you feel new, and your kids are close together like ours are. So like they're little at the same time. And then there's this weird change around 9 where they start forming true relationships with other people, and the complexity of that comes in. Then all of a sudden they're in activities, and you're running around and doing all those things, and life goes from 0 to 100 so fast. And like that transition from about not like Anna Joe's 10 now and Isaac's 12, but 8 to 10 on both of them. It was really stressful, like on our marriage, on our relationship, on you just learn so much about humanity when your kids start having human problems instead of I'm hungry, I think that contributes to the speed of it, like why it gets so, you just don't know what you're doing and you're just confused every day, If you were going to start an online business, I want to be careful using the word purpose and calling, because I believe that the way you take care of yourself, the way your relationships are served, and the work you put in actually adds up to purpose. I don't think it's the other way around. I don't think you find your purpose first. I think if you choose a passion, choose a mission, and choose to put your family first, and then revolve every decision around that, purpose emerges. Yeah, man. So like, I want to be careful using that, but like what niche are you drawn to? What purpose or calling are you drawn to? What is that passion or that mission? If you had all the passions and mission on the table and you got to choose, what would you pick up?
If I had to choose just one?
Yeah, man. Two or three. We got, let's explain.
Well, I think that's kind of, what I'm kind of, if I had to put the first one right on the table, the one that comes to mind, I mean, this took me a long time to really get to the point where I can actually articulate it. But first and foremost, I do like helping people. And I love seeing people succeed. And I love removing barriers to that success where and I think there are maybe a number of different areas where I could help at least a small business owner with, the 10 years of experience, that we have.
You survived the pandemic in the wedding business. If that's not chops, there are no chops. I mean, seriously, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're crazy, man. I know, man.
Rough. Man, if you saw us a year ago, we had no hair left.
I cannot imagine. What state are you in? Where are you at?
Wisconsin.
Yeah, man. It's just all over, man. It's been nuts. So like, do you want to talk about business though? I mean, is that really like, is it your, the things I'm passionate about are like storytelling, right? Like I love analogies. I sit and pencil out analogies all the time. That's a passion of mine, is just to use my creativity to link things together as an educator. Like that's why I was drawn to teaching and coaching football, because I like to connect the dots for people. That's my passion. That's storytelling is probably my passion, but my mission is to make sure that as many moms and dads as possible can take their kids to school in the morning. Right. That's my mission. And like So I know you'd be good at that. And you've probably listened to the podcast. I tell people to start there. But like, what's passionate about that? What's your mission?
I really like that question. I think that's such a poignant question. It really gets right to the heart of it. And I think, I've got like a little bit, I've been kind of really going through a lot of the ins and outs of what I could possibly talk about. But I think you hit the nail right on the head. What I'm passionate about is helping people live a better quality of life.
Yeah.
And I guess there are a number of ways to do that. And I think, I've been in those situations where it's, where I'm working 9 to 9. And sometimes when we, the most recent build out that we did, to try to cut corners, I cut corners in terms of cost. I did a lot of the build out myself. It was a $150,000 build out, but I was served as a general contractor. I was putting drywall up. I was knocking walls down. I was putting ceilings up. I was, replacing light fixtures, that type of thing. But I was literally working overnight at some points and actually falling asleep on the floor at the shop. And I don't know, that wasn't a good quality of life. And I needed to look at this in a much different way.
Like what got you to the place, like you clearly got to the place where you had more margin to even start thinking about the next dream, like online business. So like what made you stop putting drywall up and stop doing all the work and actually get your schedule from 9 to 9 to 9 to 5, which I think would be a dream for most people that own some kind of shop?
I hate to say this, but I think I kind of needed to go through that. And I kind of needed to, you know how you kind of like go through really difficult periods in your life, and you really, after you go through those difficult periods in your life, it really teaches you, you know, what you really do have. And I think the pandemic is a great example for all of us. And I think, you know, last year in particular it really cemented for me the value of my family and the value of the time that I spend with them. You know, even though, you know, while we were shut down, we still worked. We still worked in the cloud, and we were still shipping stuff out. You know, our people still needed us.
Yeah.
But, you know, we were working at home for 2 months, and we were there with our kids, and we were forced to be a bigger part of their, you know, their education, and really seeing really how they develop, how they grow. And it really showed us what we're missing. So I guess, you know, kind of circling back a little bit, being able to see, you know, going through those really, really, really tough times, you know, with staffing, with, you know, you mentioned something, you know, I think you in the course you talked about, you know, somebody else having control over your life, and, you know, over the decisions that you make about your family. And you know, as a business owner, that doesn't always go away, because, you know, as staffing happens, you know, let's say somebody doesn't show up for you know, somebody's sick, or like, you know, this last year that happened a lot.
Yeah.
You know, we were forced between, you know, there are these competing ideals, and we got to put food on the table, but people also they're sick, or we have to protect our staff and they got to quarantine.
Or you're quarantined. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right. You know, what do you do? And so I think it's, you know, I think that's really it. We kind of had to go through those difficult times to really be able to truly appreciate that. And I think honestly, one of the things, it's kind of been chipping away. And I think one of the things that really tipped us over the edge, at least me in particular, was seeing your story. And it was very relatable. I grew up in I guess this is kind of hard for me to admit a little bit, but I grew up in a place where it wasn't uncommon for us to have like maggots in the carpet. You know, we had no money growing up. If I wanted a new pair of pants, I had to go out and I had to find a way to buy the pair of pants. I had to, you know, I worked on farm jobs. I worked, you know, if I wanted a new basketball, I had to find, you know, the $6-7 to go get to buy the basketball. So, you know, it's, you know, being able to go through those things really, you know, it really teaches you the true grit and the true appreciation of, you know, of what could be. And I think, you know, your life, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to put words in your mouth at all, or make it, you know, seem like that, but I think I really identified. I think you used a term, a phrase where you had your bumper duct taped together. Is that correct?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So I've been through that. You know,
I used the gray tape though. That silver tape looks just like the paint job. I took time by time and I got it up there pretty good. Put a little spray paint over top of it. If I was going fast enough, you couldn't tell.
Yeah, right. Or just the right color, fix my bumper. Right time of the day that, you know, if it was like dusk or something.
Yeah. Only drive when the sun's shining from the east. And right. Reflect off of it or whatever. Yeah, man. I get it. And I mean. There's a lot of different things that you could go down that rabbit hole, but like, it's interesting you're talking about. So you've developed this passion because you've been on the other side of it, the 9 to 9, and then you figured out through the pandemic of spending more time with your kids, and now you've got this. Okay, as we emerge from the pandemic, we've kind of restructured everything where it's like this is a normal job now, and we have employees. This is ridiculous. Yep. So you can spend your time with your family and think about future and all that stuff. Like imposter syndrome is an interesting thing there. Like I mean, if you're passionate about families, let's say you're passionate about retail people having more time with their families and not struggling financially like you did trying to find the basketball and the pants, right? That's great. That's amazing. That's cool, right? And then if that would be your mission. That wouldn't be like a passion. That'd be your mission, is to like help liberate small business owners from the bondage of the clock and 9 to 9, right? That's a powerful mission. It's really good. But like, you've been doing this 10 years. I mean, there's no reason to have imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because because remember this, sometimes it's easy to put this in context. Like, anyone who is working one more hour than you on the planet on their retail business is behind you in their journey. That's it. And I promise you that that's true. Anyone with one less employee than you is behind you in your journey. If you got 35 people through seasonal and all whatever you're doing, like anyone with 34 or less is behind you in your journey. It's not, that's an empirical fact. It's a measurement. It's like, there's not an opinion. The distance between Chicago and LA is what it is. Like, we measure it in miles, and like, that is the miles you are ahead of other people. So like, that's where you have to draw your impact from, when I was a football coach, we turned a couple programs around, and like, but my first year as a head coach, I was 0-10. But I figured out how to go 2-8. I figured out how to go 3-7. I figured out how to go 5-5. Then I went 6-4. Then we went 8-2. We made the playoffs for the first time in history. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
2 schools I was at, we competed in the playoffs for the first time in school history. Right. So it's like, anyone that hasn't figured that out yet, anyone that's been struggling for a couple of years and they're 500 or less, anyone who's never won 8 games, those are all people that are behind me, and my stuff can help them.
That's true.
So you should just eliminate the imposter syndrome. I don't think that should even be anywhere near the equation, because you clearly, again, you're in the wedding industry and you survived the global pandemic of no weddings. So that, anyone who went out of business, anybody who is struggling right now to emerge successfully from the business, you're cool, man. If that's what you want to do, if that's the pursuit, that would be it. Now, there's a couple of things I know. I wanted to highlight some words in your form here. What are fears, mindset, obstacles holding you back? You use the word liability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a minute ago, you just said you were like, fear of investing lots of time into something that may not work.
Yep.
So there's risk of failure there. Why the word liability, and then we'll talk about the risk of failure. We'll talk.
Yeah. Good question.
Why the word liability?
I guess kind of the idea that I'm kind of throwing around is, onboarding people. That's something that costs a lot of money, particularly in retail. And it's something where it can creep up on you, because, time is money. And if you're spending time constantly training people, but you're not taking time to actually grow the business, you're just throwing money away doubly or quadruply in some cases. So I guess it's kind of like, we've gotten to a point where interviewing is really, it's a very conversationally, fluid process, that it really just flows. And I don't know if everybody can really do that, and or know all the ins and outs of what what you can ask and what you can't ask inside an interview, or anything else. I guess maybe it's just kind of I guess as a business owner, there are these just really weird things that just pop up, and you're like, no kidding, that's a thing. I didn't know that I had to be worried about that, or it's something of that nature. So I guess maybe it's a little bit of the fear of the unknown. But
are you worried that you won't tell someone something and they'll do something wrong?
Yeah,
they'll get mad at you and sue you or something, or
right? Hey, this guy told me that I'm supposed to ask this or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, it's. I see what you're saying, but it's kind of like, one, onboarding is completely automated in an online business. Like if you go try to build a sales page in my community, you're going to watch a video to how to do it. You're going to print the checklist and you're going to build your own thing. And I learned this concept when I was a teacher. This was a powerful thing. Actually, as a football coach, I always would walk in the basketball gym at the school I worked at. And the basketball coach was always sitting over on an exercise bike at the corner, just like riding his bike in the mornings that they had practice before school. Right. And he was just sitting there for like the first 30 minutes riding his bike, reading a newspaper or something. And the kids were like dribbling and shooting and putting free throws. And, they had like a list of things they were supposed to do. You know what I mean? And I went up to him one day and I was like, why do you do that, man? We're so structured. I'm always like, in the practice and doing the things from the minute we stretch to the minute we're out of it. And he's like, well, that's stupid. I'm like, why? And he's like, look, I told them what to do and I showed them how to do it the first day. All they're doing now is reps. So why would I be walking around the whole time with reps? This is just, I want them to shoot 1,000 free throws this week. Okay. I'm not going to sit there and stare at them shoot 1,000 free throws. They're just going to do it. Right. And then we'll have a day where we'll all meet and we'll talk about shot. And then they'll go back and they'll correct their shot and they'll do all those things. And I learned a very powerful lesson there that like Like they have to do the reps. Like you can't possibly download 10 years of experience in the retail business to someone in any course. You couldn't train someone for 100 hours in a month and download everything that you've ever taught them. But what you can do is you can teach the fundamentals, right? And then you can let them go take the reps. And then when the kid comes over to you after shots and he says, Coach, man, I shot 100 free throws today like you told me to, but I missed 60. Why'd you do that? Now I can answer your question because you did the reps and you have the questions. And that's how mentorship and leadership in the teaching space and the self-knowledge space works. Like I'm here to show you the 80%. Like these are the fundamentals. If you don't do these, you won't win, right? But if you follow the plan and you apply it to your individual shot or situation, then you'll have other questions, right?
Right.
And then on top of that, dude, I mean, you protect yourself with disclaimers and insurance. I mean, it's just like any other business. You've got liability insurance in case somebody knocks over the dress stand and breaks their neck, then it's fine. It's just like any other business out there, you know? True. Yeah. So you got to be we can sometimes invent huge ghosts. We go immediately to what if someone sues me? What if they don't? Right. What if you go 10 years and 50 years and nobody sues you? What if they do?
I suppose the odds are probably greater that they won't.
I would say yes. I would say definitely.
Probably right. Yeah.
And we just have to always protect ourselves. And you signed a thing in the community that tells you we don't guarantee results. We're telling you everything we've learned from the best of our experience and coaching 4,000 people on the internet. That's what you're learning from me and Jocelyn. You know, now, does that apply to every situation perfectly? Nope. Are there people that do exactly what we say and fail? Of course they do. Their idea didn't work. They weren't competitive. They did something, whatever, right? But they go back to the drawing board and they do something else. That's the same thing with what you would be doing. I think I also hear a fear of like this. You said, I'm afraid of investing lots of time and money into something that doesn't work. Guess what? It may not.
It's true.
Dude, you may put 3 hours a night for 100 nights in a row, launch and get not a single member. That's okay. That's fine. You learned something, why it didn't work, and you'll just go try it again. Like I wake up every day with this understanding. Flipped Lifestyle could fail. It's not yet. It's been awesome, but it could totally fail. Something could happen. I could get out of touch with the marketplace. I don't know what could happen, but I wake up every day knowing that this is a risk. When we hire new people, man, we got full payroll too, man. We're paying tens of thousands of dollars in payroll every single month to our team. Like I could do my money wrong and it could fail and it would be my fault. And that's, I mean, that's the thing. Right. But I know this, if I don't put the time and money in, it will never succeed. That's the true thing. You may fail. You may, if you try.
True.
You won't succeed if you don't.
What is that? Wayne Gretzky? Sounds like Wayne Gretzky, right?
Yeah, right. You miss every shot, or maybe that's Jordan. I don't know what it is.
Whoever that was, yeah. Right.
Somebody was swinging at a bat or shooting a basketball or hitting a hockey puck. Like it's true. It's like like we did a thing. I did a promotion this weekend. Thought it was a great idea. It was like a bonus thing. I put in a bonus and had this great gimmick. It was like the Kentucky Derby was this weekend, and so I've always been infatuated by the Kentucky Derby, growing up in Kentucky, and like I always saw Millionaires Row. It was it's like this terrace where all the actors and queens of England and all these people sit, and we've got this product called the $1 Million Membership Funnel, which is like our sales funnel, basically how we've created all of our businesses, and we've had we're going on our third business that'll hit $1 million in revenue. Right. Oh. So like it's our rubber stamp. This is what we do every time. And I got this course. It's our foundations course for that thing. And I thought, this is great. I'll talk about Millionaires Row, and then I'll talk about the $1 Million Membership Funnel. I'll include it as a bonus. We usually charge $200 just to get the first course in the series, in addition to the community, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, like one person took it. Dang it. And I'm like, I thought it was going to be like a huge, huge bonus, and we'd get 30, 40 new members and whatever. I don't know, but I know this. If I hadn't sent that email, I wouldn't have got one member.
It's true.
I wouldn't have got that one. So, I mean, like this is a common problem with people who have businesses that are real world based or good jobs. You're afraid to lose what you've already worked so hard to build, right? And you've got this thing figured out, and it's daunting to worry about figuring out the next thing, you know? And you just got to do it. You got to do it. And, ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen? Oh no, I still have a successful wedding business. I survived the pandemic and employs 35 people, and I work decent hours and see my kids in the afternoons. Oh, well, that's the worst thing that can happen. Right?
That's true. It's true. It's true.
So like, what do you think now? Like, how do you feel about that? Like, it's one thing to say it's true, but like, what's the block keeping it from being embraced and saying, I just got to do this thing, whatever it ends up being?
I think what's really resonating with me, Shane, is the purpose. And I think that's kind of, I'm a purpose-driven person, and I think it's, that's a really a gold nugget for me. I think you kind of really, really dug deep into the why, and I hadn't gotten quite that far yet. And I think it's true. I'm looking to help people, and I think that's. I think maybe I've lost a little bit of that with where I'm at right now. Maybe
that's easy to do when you're running a business because you have to turn the gears. Your Oz behind the curtain right now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about purpose for a second, and then we'll talk about some more general questions about your ideas. Okay. I really want to stress. I really think I've had an epiphany about this lately, and I'm trying to articulate it better because I feel like I've touched on something that I think could really help people, and that's this. Like, it's not about finding your purpose. The more I study purpose and leadership and success, like everybody's like, I think it's almost a crutch or an excuse that people are like, I'm trying to find my calling. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to find my purpose. That's not, the things add up to the purpose. So let's say your mission. If your mission is to help, I don't know what this is. We'll talk about ideas here in a second, but like if your mission is to say, I can help retail people working 9 to 9 get back to 10 to 4 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That would change people's lives, like period. Because some people do love their retail business. Like it's not always a handoff situation.
Oh yeah.
So that's your mission. Now, and this is where I think it's a lie to start with passions. I think that anyone who tells you to follow your passions is probably no clue what they're doing, and they're stressed out, and they're just wishing they had passions. Because that advice feels more awful every time I hear it every year in this business. Like my passion is walking down the beach. You know what I'm saying? I just love walking down the beach and looking at sunsets. You can't make a living doing that, and you definitely won't change anyone's life taking that picture of that sunset on Instagram, right? However, if you do have a mission and you can accomplish your mission with things you're passionate about, that's the work that you put in. I'll work 50 hours a week. I never want to retire because I can focus on that, So I like my mission period is to help working parents take their wisdom and experience that they've picked up over the years, monetize that so that they can make their own living on the internet, which will free them to make better choices for their family and spend more time with their kids and do all those things. That's my mission in life. The things I'm passionate about are storytelling. The things I'm passionate about are writing. I love to actually write things down. Like I can sit in front of a keyboard for 15 hours, right? Especially when I'm writing emails, because I know that I'm going to communicate this to hundreds of people. I get some instant gratification out of it. It's not like I'm writing a book. I struggle writing books. I don't struggle writing emails, right?
Right.
I'm passionate about being with other humans and talking. This is how I process is out loud. So guess what? I've done 1,000 podcasts. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I built my team around me in this exact way. Like everybody's like, well, you've got to be a CEO and you've got to do this. No, I don't. I have to build the team that functions to allow me to have my passions and them to have their passions and the other people to have their passions. So my team frees me to do three things. I podcast, I write emails, and I inspire and motivate the team. That's how I lead my team. I'm not a micromanager. I'm not doing that. I meet with my team every single Monday. And my job is like yesterday, my assistant was really tired. She's worked really hard lately on some stuff because we got a lot going on. And we have a coaching thing that I do on Monday nights with about 10 of our members. It's called the Round Table. And she usually comes to that. And I just said, I felt it in the morning meeting. And I said, I appreciate everything you've been doing lately. And I just really want you to not come to the meeting tonight. I want you to go rest, get to bed early, and you need to catch up on some sleep. You look like you've been really pushing it. That's how I lead. I'm not going to sit here and try and figure out. I set strategy and I lead like that. That's what I do. I motivate and inspire. I email people and I talk. That's my passions, man. I could do this for the rest of my life. I could be 90 still sitting here talking to you. And that's good. And it supports the mission. The mission I chose came first before the passions. You just figure out how to fulfill the mission with your passion. Now, all of a sudden, if I can fulfill my mission with my passions that I have chosen, things, God-given talents and experiences, just like the tagline says, and I'm putting my family first, right? They go on the calendar first. My kids, my wife, me, we go on the calendar first. All the other white space I can fill in, and that becomes purpose. Then you get the purpose. And
you got other ways. It frees you up to find other ways to support that mission.
100%, 100%. Now, how a business works, though. In the first year or two, there's a big bubble behind passion called work.
Right.
And that might be things you are not passionate about. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I am not passionate about scheduling. I am not passionate about being on the back end of my podcast and editing and doing all those things. I can do them, jack of all trades, right? But I don't want to. I have no desire to do that stuff. But my editor, when I just did her evaluation a couple of weeks ago, and we were meeting, I'm like, tell me what you love about your job. And she goes, I just love the editing. I would say I can edit for 18 hours a day. I just love when you send me a podcast and I get no kidding. And like, that's her thing. And I found someone who loved that thing, you know? So you just, and like my assistant, she's going to laugh when she hears this, because I make them listen to every podcast, but like we figured out real quick. I hired her because I knew she was talented. I didn't really know what she was going to do, but when I interviewed her for another job, I was like, I'm just going to hire you and I'll just build your job as we go. And we quickly figured out that she lives and dies by the calendar. Like, she can work in scheduling and on a calendar and tick the boxes of those appointments. Like, she has access to me and Jocelyn and everyone's calendar, and she makes sure all the boxes get ticked.
That's beautiful.
And she just runs my schedule, and she loves it. It's tiring because I'm running all over the place, but she loves it, right? So I have taken her passion for organization, accumulating, clicking boxes, and we've plugged it in to support the mission. And I took my editor's I'm trying to get her more and more editing and less other tasks, because she loves to do that. My other person who started, she's our community manager, but she also loves tech. And I'm slowly moving her out of community manager, and I'm probably going to hire somebody else, because I'm trying to get her. She loves tinkering. She loves messing with the systems, and that passion can plug into the mission. Boom. All of a sudden, everybody's passionate about what they're doing every day. The work disappears. The time goes away. And that's what you need to do. Like, you've got to say, it's not your idea. It's the mission that you've got to settle in on, and purpose emerges from mission.
Yeah, I like that.
Everybody's got to set that. So I guess that would be my next question. Like, you're talking on here a lot, like, will my course sell? Will people follow me? Of course they will. There's somebody out there, right? If you do a good job. But like, what is your, like, that, you got to decide your mission. And I'm not saying we can hash it out right here too and talk about it. But like, what hill do you want to charge every day? If you figure that out, the idea and the niche will flow from it, right?
Right.
Because it's not finding. I'm a Christian. I am a believer in divine purpose and divine appointment. I mean, I know God put me here for His reason, right? But I also believe in agency, and I think He looks down and says, you have to choose to go and pick up your staff and choose which city you're going to go and where you're going to do and what you're going to say, and like, pick the mission, right? With your God-given talents and experiences. So we have to have agency in that thing. And if everybody would just get a mission, man, online business becomes easy, because you can't be stopped once you're on a mission. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Mission. So your mission is helping enough parents, people who have kids, I guess. Can you articulate your mission again? I just kind of want to. My
mission is to help people find and use their wisdom and God-given talents and experiences to go out and create income for themselves. I don't even care if you're self-employed. You might be a freelancer. It doesn't matter to me. I just want you to gain control over your income, because income is the tool that humans use to buy freedom, period.
Right.
That's how you get freedom. It doesn't matter if you agree with me. It doesn't matter if you're a hippie out there going, but love and peace, man. No, that is not how the world works. So if you take control of your income and your talents and your wisdom and your experiences, I notice I don't focus on talents. Everybody's not 7'4" and can be in the NBA, right? But everyone has experiences. Everyone gains wisdom, and everyone can reach back and help people behind them. If you're talented on top of it, that's going to make even more money. It's fine. But once you take control of your income, you get to control your time. You don't get to control your time until you're in charge of your income, until you can say to a client, you're fired, until you can say to a boss, I quit, until you can look in the mirror and say, I can pay the bills. Like, you don't get to control your time. So anything short of that means when your kid calls you sick, you may have to call somebody else to go pick them up. Or when you're sick, you get to ask somebody to take a day off. Or you don't get to control those 168 hours, those 24 hours, those 60 minutes of 16 hours you're awake every day. And that's where power comes from. You know what I'm saying? Right. So like, that's my mission. Now, how do I do that? How do I choose to do that? There's a lot of ways to fulfill that mission. I was talking to Dan Miller yesterday, who's a guy that he wrote 48 Days to Work You Love. We were emailing back and forth about some things, and I respect him crazy, man. He has changed more lives than I can even count with his books, right? That's how he chooses to articulate his mission into the world. I choose to do it through podcasting and email and my community. That's how I choose to fulfill my mission, because those are my passions. Talking is better than writing a book to me. Emailing is one to many, and I love to send out the masses, and inspire them to take action. In the community is where I build deep relationships like me and you are building right now. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So it doesn't matter. The passions can be picked after the mission is chosen. It's like taking a hill. Do we need this gun? Do we need that gun? Do we need helicopters? Do we need jets? Right. Those are the things we need. The passion, everybody tries to start with passion, man. It's not going to work. Got to pick a mission first.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I guess, as you're kind of saying that, I'm trying to let things percolate in my back of my head, just kind of what my mission would be. I mean, I guess on its most basic sense, my mission is to help people really achieve a bit more freedom. And I think that's kind of the idea.
Ooh, that's a good thing you just said there. You said a bit more. That was a cool way to say that. Because everybody's pitching the dream of what they think is the dream, like get the Lamborghini, go walk on the beach, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
But I think that some people, if I open a pizza shop, and I love my pizza shop, and I want to serve my community, and I just love it. I love doing this, or I own a coffee shop or something, right? But I'm working 9 to 9. I'd love a bit more freedom, because then I'd get to do what I love and I'd be free. If you just said, wouldn't it be nice to work 3 hours less a day? I can show you how. That's it. That's a crazy good result for some people, man. Wouldn't you love to have 15 hours a week of your kids back? That'd be cool. Yeah. Yeah. That's it, man.
Crazy. Well, I think I noticed this in many places, not just in retail, but in a lot of different businesses. You were making the analogy with the basketball coach who, they're just doing their reps, they're doing their drills. They have a checklist, they know what they're supposed to be doing. And I think I know it's simple, and it's not simple is not always easy. But having a checklist, anybody can have a checklist, but that there's an art there. That's one element of maybe onboarding. And I think that's kind of where I was going with before with onboarding employees. Yeah, you got a lot of this automated stuff. You come on board and you automate a lot of things. But in some cases, how do you create that automation beyond the basics of getting their payroll set up? How do you teach the culture of the business? How do you teach how to interview? How do you teach? How do you place people in your business that are going to stick for a long time, are going to fit your culture, are actually going to support you and and the mission inside the business? And I think there's a lot of people that kind of they look at hiring people and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to hire you. Okay, now just watch what we do and you'll learn your job. And there's a lot more to that. And
do you know how you teach people? Do you know how you teach those things to people? One course at a time, one question at a time. And what you can never do as an online business teacher, as an educator, as a leader, I'm not here to teach you what I do, David. I'm here to teach you what I did. And what I did on the first day of my journey was sit down on Google and find an idea. And that's the first course I created was how to create an ebook on your idea. And then the next month, somebody asked me an interesting question. Hey, what does a good sales page look like? I'm like, oh, well, mine works. Let me show you that. And then that course ended up in the Flipped Lifestyle Blueprint. What you see today inside the Flipped Lifestyle community, which is insane. Like I don't even know how many courses. I've lost count how many things. Everything you can imagine for online business is in there, but it wasn't then, right? And you will never be able to teach them everything that you know. You know what I'm saying? So like it's that's why we build the membership community in the way we do. The best way to get results is to teach people fundamentals, and then when situations arise, have a mechanism where they can get an answer. So how does our community work? You have the Flipped Lifestyle Blueprint, which answers a lot of questions. I have over 1,000 Q&As that we've answered that we've cut up into individual courses, and my team finds answers for you when you need them. So that's one way we answer questions. You can always ask questions in the forums, and a lot of other people can chime in. Plus, we have Q&A. So like I know that I still get questions every Q&A I've never heard. That's okay. Accept that. You can't teach them that. But what you can do is you can decide to get them the first result. Like if you could be like, I'll show you how to hire a really good person. And because if they hire one person, it's probably going to free their hours up. Right. You could just start there. And then the other stuff will emerge from that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Hey, look, there's a really, I probably shouldn't say this on the internet, but there's a cool domain, retailfreedom.com. Okay. Like that would be epic. Like that, something like that is what I'm feeling coming out of you. Like I know how to help. I know how I got more free. And if I could help people get more free, that would make me happy. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe that grows to a place where you sell the wedding business or you get rid of it and you don't have to do it anymore. You know what I mean? Right. That's fine. But you know how to make those transitions. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like that's where you've got to get to. That and I'll tell you this, I feel this from you because I felt it myself. You said, I'm gonna circle back to close this up at the beginning of the interview today, or the interview, it's not an interview, we're just hanging out. But like this session is, you were talking about like, I just don't know what to do. I just don't know what to think. I don't know what to do, whatever. I just, and like I've been listening to you for 2 years, and I found you 2 years ago, and I've been just letting it sit in my head. Look, man, you'll be here 2 more years if you don't try something. And
that's true.
Your mission, you could totally try something, this thing that we've been kind of, we haven't even got to it yet. That's fine. That's what we'll do in the community. But like you could sit here 2 more years just wrestling with it, or you could try it. And here's what's great. If it doesn't work, delete the website. No one will ever know. It doesn't matter. Like this is not what I started doing on the internet. I started out like dad blogging and selling worksheets and helping elementary librarians teach people how to read and like football playbooks. And like, I don't do any of that anymore. You know what I mean? Right. But it got me to where I am because I started something. Right. Yeah. And if everyone would start something, they would get farther along for sure.
That's the truth.
Yeah, man. All right, man. Well, listen, great chat today, dude. Listen, I know sometimes these chats are interesting because the goal is not necessarily to solve the world's hunger problems every time we chat. But I think if we go into the community now, let's go to the forums and be like wrestle out loud with your mission. Watch the idea courses again. But I want to challenge you to within 14 days to pick something and go for it. And if you're scared about the time investment, then start slow. Talk to your wife and be like, can we put 5 hours a week in this together? Like I'll do these 3, you do those 2, and we'll just kind of see what happens.
Tag team it.
Yeah, man. And just make it time, for each other where you hang out together or something. And then just start it and just see where you can end up. Maybe it's your first course. That's usually where we start. Like, what would I teach someone? If you had 1 week if I flew in to Wisconsin, mm-hmm. and you had 5 days with me, and you couldn't teach me everything. You had to teach me my next step. What would you teach me to get free and stop working 9 to 9 in my retail business.
Okay. That's a good way to put it.
That's it. That's what you build first. And then you promote that and see if it gets any traction.
Yeah, I like that. Right.
Just break it down into bite-sized pieces, man. So, hey, man, this was a great conversation, David. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. And I know sometimes it's hard to be vulnerable, and and I'm like, hey, come talk to me in front of thousands of people. It'll be fun, right? But man, what a great conversation. I know that this was really deep, and a lot of people are going to get some value out of that. So, as always, man, we appreciate your transparency and vulnerability, and just being able to come on the show and share with everybody today.
Well, Shane, thanks to you and Jocelyn. I really appreciate your advice, and you guys have a wonderful course.
All right, guys, that wraps up my coaching session with David. Man, I hear that so many times, guys. Imposter syndrome sets in right before you take action. You struggle looking at different ideas and different niche markets. Sometimes it can be hard to even get started. But if you'll focus on that mission, if you'll focus on your God-given talents, wisdom, experiences, it'll help take away the fear, take away the anxiety, and give you the courage and strength to take action and go out there and build something amazing online. If you're struggling right now figuring out your mission, if you're struggling coming up with an idea for your online business, something that you can really be passionate about and has a great chance to give your family an amazing future, we have all the trainings and resources you need to do just that inside the Flipped Lifestyle Blueprint. When you join the Flipped Lifestyle community, you'll get full access to the entire Flipped Lifestyle Blueprint. That's our step-by-step A to Z program that shows you exactly how we started, built, and grew our online businesses. You'll also get access to our community forums where you can come and talk to other members, talk to our team, talk to me and Jocelyn. You can hang out and hash out ideas. And we also do 2 live member calls a month where we answer your specific questions so that we can help you flip your life. Now, we're not like these other people online that require thousands and thousands of dollars investment just to get in the door. We let everybody that wants to start their flipped lifestyle journey try our program for $0, absolutely free for 30 days. All you have to do is go to flippedlifestyle.com/free. That's FLIPPED lifestyle.com/free, and you can start your 30-day free trial today. Now, don't be like David. Don't hear this podcast and put this off for 2 years. The best time to plant a tree was 100 years ago. The next best time is today, and I'm glad David is doing it today. But I don't want you to wait. I don't want you to put off your family's future another second. Head over to flippedlifestyle.com/free and let us help you find your mission, find your passion, find your purpose by starting, building, and growing an online business today. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for this episode of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. Man, I had a blast going deep and getting a little philosophical today with old David. But I know those are the struggles that we've got to overcome if we're ever going to succeed in the work of being an online business owner, of being an entrepreneur. Mindset is what holds most of us back, and nothing will help you get over those mindset obstacles like a mission that you can get on fire for, because you're going to go out and do everything you can to see that mission succeed. Now, before I go, I always end every episode of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast with a Bible verse. My wife, Jocelyn, and I get a lot of our inspiration and motivation from the Bible, and I love to share some of that wisdom with you. Today's Bible verse comes from 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10. The Bible says, "As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied graces." We all have varied talents. We all have varied experiences. I wouldn't know the first thing about walking into a wedding shop and selling a dress, but David's got it figured out, and he's got 35 employees helping him do it. We are all given these talents. We are all given these experiences. We're not supposed to hoard them and just keep them to ourselves. We're supposed to go out and be a good steward of God's varied graces. We're supposed to use them and invest them and go out into the world and help other people with everything that we have learned. And I want to encourage you to do that. Take your God-given talents, take your God-given wisdom, take your God-given experiences. Steward that well. Put it out into the world. Help other people. Serve other people. And you will be amazed at the blessings that flow back. All right, y'all, that's all the time that I have for this week. Thank you so much for listening to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. If you have not done so yet, please go leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe and follow us on any podcast player you use, whether it's Spotify or something else. And if we bring value into your life every single week, we'd be honored if you would share a couple episodes on your social media, or heck, just tell a friend about the show. I'll be back here with you next time. I can't wait to serve you again. Until then, get out there, take action, and do whatever it takes to flip your life. We'll see you then. Hey, how'd you find out about flipped lifestyle?
I think the first time that I heard it was, or saw it was on Forbes. I saw an article. And I'm like, what? They did what?
They did what? Right, yeah. I still look at that article and go, wait, what? We did what?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the way it is, man.